Don't get me wrong. I love being single and I love living alone. It's great. It's fantastic. But fuck, it's expensive. I just spent $600 on brakes on my car, just on the front part of the car, because I couldn't afford all 4 brakes and axles and rotors and whatever the fuck. And then now I just paid my car payment, which is $500. So I just blew $1,100 in like 3 hours. And it wasn't even like fun, you know? Fuck. Sorry, it's just so overwhelming. Like, you work and 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 you work, and it's just to pay off like your basic necessities. And you can't, like, in this city that I live in, public transport, please. If I were to do public transport, it's like asking to get raped, and I really shouldn't be crying because now I have to go to another work event, and now I'm gonna be all puffy. Living is so expensive. Just keeping yourself alive and floating is so expensive. And what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted is if I were to take public transport here, especially for my job requires a car. I have to have a bunch of shit that I have to lug with me for work. And I can't do that with public transport. I'm venting. Inflation sucks. Just living in America sucks. Living alone sucks. It's great, but it sucks. Because you have to front all the expenses by yourself. I need a husband just so that I can live. So we can split the bills.
You want to talk about white privilege? I was born dirt poor. Roaches in our food, mattresses on the floor, eviction notices taped to the doors, kind of poor. My parents, their side hustle was beating me and my siblings bloody. I missed more meals than I can count. When we did eat, it was ramen, canned foods, or whatever we could steal from the gas station. There were 8 of us kids. Don't come at me like I grew up in some quiet backwoods town either. We weren't hearing deer rifles. We were hearing 9mm and Glocks on a nightly basis. Not because we were hunting, because we were dodging stray bullets in the inner city. I had a baby as a teenager, thought maybe I could break the cycle, went to college, flunked out quick. Life was swinging before I even had a chance to plant my feet. Then the military came knocking, promised me structure, a future, and a way out. What I got? Another flavor of hell. Straight out of basic, they shipped me to Afghanistan. 19 years old, couldn't buy a beer back home, but I could carry a rifle, kick indoors, and watch friends die in pieces. I came home to a wife who had cheated on me while I deployed, ended in divorce, missed my baby's first steps, first words, first everything. I got the title Dad, but only for 2 days every other week when the courts allowed me. So I drank. I numbed it out. I drowned it in alcohol and women. Hopped from job to job, security, government contracts, even worked with the feds for a minute. But it all fell apart. I ended up homeless, ashamed, alone, and broken. Now, I've been sober for 4 years, been through more therapy than most folks can stomach, read hundreds of books, and here's what I figured out. As bad as I have had it, if I was black, I probably wouldn't have survived it. That ain't an opinion, that's truth. Black Americans make up 13% of the population, but 38% of the prison population. 1 in 3 black boys born today, they're expected to end up behind bars. That ain't by accident. That is policy. That's centuries of systemic racism passed off as justice. The 13th Amendment did not abolish slavery, it rebranded it. It says slavery is legal as punishment for a crime. That's why we got corporations making billions off of prison labor while folks inside earn cents an hour if they're lucky. That clause was written to target black Americans, and it's still doing exactly that. Now I run an organization called West Virginia Fights Back. We feed people, we take care of people. No strings, no red tape, no begging for scraps. We take care of our own because the government won't. My dream? A Fights Back chapter in every damn state. Abolish the prison industrial complex. Burn the cage down. Build something real in its place. Fred Hampton said you can jail a revolutionary, but you cannot jail the revolution. This is not about shame. This is about responsibility. If you've had the privilege of not being targeted by the system, you've got the duty to help tear it down.
Hey TikTok, I'm just on here wondering if anybody's feeling the same way I'm feeling. I'm from Illinois, and I feel like the gas prices and the electric bills and the prices of food is just so overwhelming anymore. Like, I'm wondering if anybody else is feeling like they're drowning and they can't get out. I work overtime, and I cannot get above water. I mean, I literally have no gas for next week. It was either that or get a few groceries to get by. I hit my local food pantries. I'm just wondering if anybody else feels like they're drowning. But anyway, I hope everybody has a great day.
Recently, we've seen more black Americans run into Africa, different African countries. Why? Because these African countries have an opportunity for development. They are still growing. They still have a lot of opportunities. That's why most of them are running into Africa. The same thing, we've seen whites crying. In this video, we are going to be reacting onto that. We thought the whites are the more privileged people, but then you see more privileged people are also crying. That simply means things are not good on either sides. What do you think is going wrong? Most of them voted for Trump, thinking Trump would change things, but then Trump also has his own agendas, which he's trying to push at the moment, neglecting everyone, not the farmers, not the whites, and any other one. Everyone is being neglected by Trump, the one they had called their savior, who wanted to make America great again, and they chose him, or they voted for him, thinking he would make America great again by taking off some taxes, scrapping off some everything. But things have changed. Trump became a different person. In this video, we are going to be seeing what the whites are saying and some other Americans. That's what we're going to be reacting to. The original content creators of these videos take the rights of whatever is being said here, and this video is here for purposes of education and reaction. I'll be waiting to hear from you in the comment section. Let's go on. I'll be giving you more commentary.
I am so tired of feeling helpless as a parent. Yes, my kids are grown adults. My oldest is 28, my youngest is 25. And I thought by teaching them what I learned, which is you work hard, you get a good job, you're going to get the things in life that you need, right? Worked for me, why wouldn't it work for them? Because it doesn't. Because the world has fucking changed, all right? And now I feel like I see them struggling. And before my generation comes at me, yes, I understand struggling is a part of life. We all struggled. But there's a difference between struggling and drowning, all right? So we struggled and it was tough. But you know what? We made it. We knew there was a light at the end of the tunnel with our struggle. It seems like kids today, no matter how much they struggle, they just get further and further down the water into the drowning point, all right? When I was their age, I was making less than $10 an hour. And I can afford to live on my own. Now you have to be making six-figure salary to get a decent, tiny little place to live. So what the fuck is going on, and how do we help them as parents? I told my son, all you have to do is work hard, go to college, or join the military like I did. He went to college, got his degree, got a full-time job. He moved back in with me right when he graduated from college because he said, hey, Mom, as soon as I get a job, which was within 2 weeks of him getting out of college, maybe take me 2 months and I'll save up enough money for me to move out. Okay, cool. It's been 10 months. He has saved almost every dime and still can't afford to live. Why are 1-bedroom studio apartments almost $2,000 a month? Why? Like, I just don't get it. So I don't even think that there's even classes anymore. There used to be, upper class, middle class, lower class. It's literally turning into the ultra wealthy, and then everybody else is just poor. Like, that's what is happening. And then I told him, hey, when you turn 25, at least your car insurance will go down. Hell no, he turned 25 and his car insurance went up $150. I tell him, if you need health insurance, get a good job. He has health insurance. He has had a medical emergency this week. Had to go to emergency room twice. He had to go to the emergency room because he couldn't get anybody to see him with the health insurance that he had. Right? So he had to go to an emergency room. Now he's out money for that too. It seems like you can never get ahead. And then my daughter, I told her all you have to do, because she wanted to buy her own house. My daughter worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day to save up enough for this down payment. Finally got this house. She's paying double what I'm paying for my mortgage, but her loan was the same amount. And then her mortgage company, after she's already moved in, said, oh, by the way, we forgot to tell you that you need this type of coverage, which we forgot in the beginning. That's an extra $200 you've been paying a month. And all they see when they come home is they watch social media, kids their age on lavish vacations with all this money and nothing to do, all these social media influencers, because we value those types of things over hard workers. We will pay them $10,000, but you work 40 hours a week, you can't afford it.
So I just watched a video of a white woman literally crying about the conditions of the United States, how she has to work 60 hours and she's looking at other countries and they don't even have to work 40 hours, how they can take a train for like pennies on the dollar anywhere they want. Meanwhile, like our country's infrastructure is falling apart. How it feels like there's no support nets. It feels like all the safety nets are dissolving, and she doesn't understand why. And I both hate and love to remind these folks that the reason why the United States is the way it is because of y'all. A lot of you are the descendants of folks, or might actually be some of the folks, who were more invested in not sharing all of the programs, all of the initiatives that the United States was starting with marginalized people, specifically Black people. Y'all are some of the same folks who would have rather filled in the pools in your neighborhood than share them. Shut down the schools and the libraries rather than share them. That you would rather vote against any forming of these safety nets or any protections for these safety nets rather than share them with marginalized people. Then you look up a generation or two or less later and wonder why you don't have these safety nets to protect you, because you were banking on your whiteness to keep you safe. And a lot of you learned pretty quickly after this election that you don't even have that to keep you safe. That unless your bank account has something like 7 digits in it, that the folks that you were banking on to protect you won't. And that some of the safety nets that maybe your mama or your family had relied upon, like SNAP or Medicaid or Medicare or any of those other basic safety nets, are going to be eradicated by the very people that you voted for. May I suggest, instead of crying, you strap up? The whole bootstrap thing that y'all be telling my people about. Remember that you get what you pay for. For everybody else who's not invested in crying, maybe some suggested reading. These Some of Us by Heather McGhee. It talks about how equality is not a zero-sum game. This book has torn me up several times that I've read it, but it is essential reading. So for the next few years, might want to be diving in instead of crying on the internet. Just a thought.
I was thinking about this. We are the richest country on the planet, one of the richest countries. Why does it look like ass? Like, really think about that for a second. Like, when you're driving, if you're not in like Florida or California or the coast of like Oregon or whatever, it's like, this place looks like shit. And we have so much money. Like, I'm thinking of like Europe and Japan and all the architecture like across the world and how beautiful it looks. Why don't we have like rose gold fucking buildings, and like, why does the Kmart's and like all of the stores look like shit? Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking in my head, I'm closing my eyes and I can imagine like what a country, like look at China, like Shanghai, like the coast, like all those videos you see, that's like no joke, stunning. Beautiful, high tech. You would think America would look like that with the amount of money that we have, but it just looks like, ugh, you know what I mean?
Hi guys, I'm really stressed today. I just went to the grocery store, bought 10 items, and it was $80 freaking already. I literally have $10 left on my account. The fuck? So a little backstory. I got laid off from my job a month ago. And I've been applying for jobs months before I got laid off. Sent out hundreds of resumes already. Applied to hundreds of jobs on the internet, remote and on-site. Tailored my resume to every position that I applied using ChatGPT. Went to only a few interviews. And still nothing. Like, what the fuck is going on with America right now? Like, it's so freaking hard to live here. Like, I'm gonna stay positive. I'm gonna keep applying for jobs. I'm gonna keep showing up. But man, my bills are not going to wait.
Is anyone else completely sick and tired of living in America where you're expected to work your entire life? Like, we are not here to work. Our jobs are not our lives. Our jobs are not our purpose. Like, everyone asks me, like, what's your job? What are you doing with your life? Like, I'm just trying to save enough and get passive income so I can go travel the world and start my life. Like, everyone thinks their purpose is to work. Like, you get done with high school, then you go to college for 4 years, then you're $30,000 in debt, and then you're trying to find a job just so you can pay off that debt over the next 3 years. And then what? Then you're making enough money just to pay your mortgage and afford groceries and then pay for kids. And then before you know it, you're 60 and you're retiring and your body hurts because of your job and you didn't do anything that you wanted to do. And that's our life. That's what you're expected to do. And if you break out of that, then people are going to judge you and think you're weird or you're crazy or you're a hippie. I'm so sick of it. America needs to make a change. Something needs to change because people are not happy here. People are not living their dreams. People are not living their life. They are working. They think that their work is their life. It is not that way.
I'm tired. I'm so tired of the United States. It's so ghetto and every day gets a little bit harder to function. I'm talking about, I don't understand how I am struggling in these United States and I make decent money. I don't do anything. I don't have debt. I put myself through school. Again, I put myself through school and I owe the IRS every year. I own my own home. My car is paid off. I don't go out. I don't have friends. I'm a loner. There's a few people I talk to. I don't understand. Like, I have no debt. There's no debt I have, you guys. I don't owe anybody. Like, I'm just trying to understand, how am I struggling? I make decent money. I put money to the side for retirement. And then everything else is for bills. Like, how am I struggling? Like, I live below my means. Like, I stopped buying clothes. I stopped buying shoes and all of these fancy things. I don't go out. I don't purchase unnecessary items. Like, I am no longer a consumer, because when I was a consumer, it did me no good. Like, I have all of these things and nothing to show for it, right? So I stopped buying things, right? And I'm trying to understand, how am I struggling? When I was buying things, I felt like I was doing good. And now that I'm not buying things, I feel like I'm struggling. Like, how does this work in these United States? Like, I don't understand. Like, I live below my means. The only expense I would say I would have is, I do my own hair and I go get my nails and my feet done every 2 weeks, right? That's it. I'm trying to understand how my grocery bill goes from $400 a month to $1,000 a month. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand how my electric bill goes from $155 to $800 in 1 month. No past due balance. I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to understand how my internet goes from $75 to $140. And that is the lowest plan. I don't understand. I'm not processing these United States. And I make decent money, okay? I make decent money. And I saw a video today where a girl said that she makes $100,000 a year. And after taxes, she brings home about $70,000. And she's struggling. And I'm like, baby, if you're struggling, then I'm poor.
The cost of living in this country is currently, it is currently unsustainable. And there are people that they know this, but then they'll still look at somebody else that's struggling and then tell them they're not doing good enough. I want you to imagine somebody that makes $75,000 a year. That's a pretty high up wage in terms of like top earners in this country, $75,000 a year. And we're going to go through some things here. This is a person with no debt outside of a car. And please don't hit me with the, you can go buy a car for, shut up, you can't, shut up, stop saying ridiculous things. An entry-level decent car is $30,000. So this person who puts $200 a month into insurance and they pay 5% into their 401k because, shut up, people should be able to put money into their retirement. Because if you're not doing it now, you're never going to get to start doing it later. So after those two things come out of their paycheck and their taxes are paid, they bring home $53,850 a year from a $75,000 paycheck. Average rent in my state for a one-bedroom apartment, because an adult should be able to live by themselves, $1,700. That car payment at 6% for an entry-level, very reasonable sedan, nothing fancy, that car payment's $579 a month. Car insurance, $240 or so a month for a lot of vehicles in this day and age. You're a young person, you've got a nice job, but the insurance companies still want to screw you over. Food. You only cook at home. You never, ever go out. You only cook at home and you only eat decent quality food because a human being should be allowed to eat decent quality food. You pay $879 a month for that. You spend $250 a month in gas. You wear and tear on your car $100 a month. $80 for your phone, $80 for your internet, $175 a month for your electricity, $70 for your water, $20 for your cash. You make $75,000 a year, and outside of a car payment, you have zero debt. Do you know how much money you have left over annually at a $75,000 wage? You do nothing. You don't own a Netflix. You don't go out on a date. You don't pay to go to a park. You don't go watch a movie. You do nothing. If you can't find it on the internet for free, you don't get to do it. If you can't cook it at home for your $800, you don't get to do it. You have $3,700 left over annually. That's like $320 a month. And there's going to be, well, that's $300. Shut up. Shut your stupid, contrarian, edgelord mouth. That's not a doctor bill, because God knows just because we have insurance doesn't mean that we don't still pay far out the ass when we go to the doctors. People like to be entertained. They want to date. They want to... There's those of you out there that will tell somebody living like this on $75,000 a year before taxes that they are not doing what they're supposed to do, that they should get a second job, that they should get a side hustle, that they should get a better job. And the fact that you would look at somebody with no debt other than a car and say something like this to them means objectively you're a moron and you live in a fantasy world. This is unsustainable.
There are too many homeless people. There are too many people who are homeless just recently. You can fucking see it. You can tell when somebody's just recently homeless, and you can see how fucking defeated they look. These people are not people who are on drugs. They're not bad people. They're very fucking nice. I talk to them. And they're just recently homeless. The majority of homeless people I'm seeing, I saw my first tweaker for the first time in fucking months yesterday. I don't see tweakers out here. They're just people who lost their fucking jobs. And they're asking for work very often. They're good, kind, considerate people. They're young oftentimes. They're black oftentimes. They're black men oftentimes. There's a lot of older white men too. A lot of older white men, a lot of young black men. One guy the other day, I couldn't tell how old he was until I went up to him and gave him a couple bucks, and he was so young, dude, like he was just a kid. And they're standing there all day with their signs. They have this defeated look on their face. They try to like have some pep in their step when all the cars are there and when everyone's driving by. But then as soon as you see all the cars drive by, you just see them fucking sink. I'm sick of it. I am fucking sick of it. I don't know what I need to do in my life to get my shit together so I can help bring these people back up. And I don't give a damn what anyone fucking thinks. I don't care if you don't want to help people because you think that they're too fucking lazy for your own good. I don't care. I don't care. These people need fucking help and they deserve it. We did not come to this fucking planet to live like this. This is ridiculous.
Well, the rage goes on, and when we get into the comment section, it really tells that the average Americans are really suffering, and when it comes to anyone below the average line, they are really facing it rough. And someone says they are living on debts. Someone is already 24, but they have a debt of over $200,000 that they have to pay: insurance, cars, like rent, every other angle they have a date. And someone said here, it's in the comment section, Melissa says, I got paid on Friday, paid bills, half of them in quotes, and I have $26 left for the next 2 weeks. I'm making more than I even have, and I am more broken than ever. Like, really? And another one says, Jess says, I understand the feeling. I'm having to go back to college to my big age at 41 to get another degree. Everything is expensive. Yeah, everything is expensive. She needs to go for higher education. Remember, every other time you're looking for a job, no one is going to hire you when your skills are low. Remember, this one says she's 41. Imagine being 41 and the papers you have were way back. That's when you got them. So you need to up your game and get something better for yourself. If you don't have better skills to compete in this 21st century, then no one is going to employ you. That's why most of those people are below the average line, and that's why most of them are living in homelessness on the streets of the big cities in the US and other European countries. It won't happen in Africa because Africans don't have, most of them don't have fixed wages, don't have insurances. You have to fight for yourself. Once you fall sick, you get your money and pay. Like, it's really crazy, that other side. I really believe and expect things will go down once Trump and other people sit down and work together. Keep watching, let's keep pushing, and thank you for watching. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more videos.
Americans are so broke and they don't even realize it. I always get Americans tell me, oh, but people in Mexico only make $20 a day. You can get a full meal here for $2. The metro in Mexico City costs 5 pesos, which is like 25 cents. I can go to the market right now and buy 3 kilos of mangoes for like $2. Yeah, people make less money here, but the cost of living is also lower. Americans think that everywhere is like the US. Now, check this out. Let's say you live in the US and you make $3,500 a month after taxes. I'm being generous. Rent, $2,000. Car payment, $500. Car insurance, $200. Health insurance, $200. Phone bill, $100. Wi-Fi bill, $50. Light bill, $150. Water bill, $100. What's the point of making more money if you don't get to keep any of it? Who cares if you make $4,000 a month if you don't get to keep any of it? 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes half of six-figure earners. 80% of you guys are in debt and don't own anything, and half of you guys don't even have $500 in your savings account. But let's call other countries poor and let's call other people poor. Living paycheck to paycheck your whole life and being in debt your whole life should be considered poverty, but it's not. And I know this is going to hurt a lot of Americans, but it's the truth. The US system wants you to spend every waking moment of your life working and paying into a system that will never benefit you. Slaving away your whole life just to be retired for a measly 10 years. At least here in Mexico, we own our things. We own our houses. We own our cars. We're not in debt. But anyways, that's a story for another day. Let me know what you guys think.
43% of Americans are low income. Things are only getting more expensive. Wages aren't increasing. And if you're paying any attention to the trend cycle right now, or even, of course, the election cycle right now in America, it is very clear. 80s opulence is back. Wealth is back. There's no help coming for poor people. America purposely does not talk about class, because when the lines are blurred and you don't really know, then everybody's middle class. And you don't have to realize how poor you actually are. In fact, if you talk about poor people and you call them poor, people think that you're saying a slur. And before you type up that anti-capitalist paragraph, save it. You can't even stop shopping at Shein and Temu. You are not going to dismantle capitalism in this lifetime. Keep up that couch activism if you want to, because when all those social programs go away, you're going to be so focused on maintaining your basic needs, you're not going to have the mental energy to figure out how to get out of that situation. You are going to become permanently poor. If you really wanted to do something about the issue, you would read any of the widely accessible literature, which tells you in order to dismantle a system, it actually requires significant personal sacrifice. But you don't want to read, and even when you do read, you lack the skills to actually apply it critically and organize. So if you're not going to solve the problem, again, you need to start making some money. This is a free ebook, and it talks about how people who have the resources to simply not be poor anymore continue to choose to be poor every day. It's very easy to blame the system until you find out what the system does to people who sit around playing like the victim.
60% of the American public is about to lose everything they have. People living paycheck to paycheck are about to go broke. The GDP numbers came in yesterday, and of course the economy receded, which I predicted 2 months ago, and people laughed. Mark my words, the second quarter is going to be far worse. Tariffs on Chinese products at 145% are about to kick in, which means everything you buy from China on Amazon or elsewhere is about to go through the roof. Grocery store shelves are starting to empty at Walmarts across the country. And of course, grocery prices continue to soar. People who've been financing groceries on credit are starting to default on those payments. We are about to see an economic catastrophe. If you're in this 60% that has little or no money, please stop spending money. Protect your family. Trump does not care about you. Even if you voted for him, he's a billionaire. He won't suffer, but you and your family will. Please protect yourself. 60% of the American public.
America is so poor that it blows my mind. After being in Thailand for 3 months and coming back to America and not having to start over, but we had to come back so abrupt that we ain't found a crib yet. We got to buy vehicles again. We got to go through the whole process. And going through that process, over the last 24 hours since I've been back, just thinking all right, what do we want to do moving forward? Do we want to buy a house? Do we want to rent a house? Do we want to go cash out on a car? Do we want to get another car loan? It made me realize how many people in America are in debt. Like being in debt is celebrated here. Like if you go finance a house, $800,000 house, you know what I'm saying? You probably still owe like $600,000-$700,000 on that house. And that's celebrated. It's like, oh, I just closed on a new house. Now I get to spend the next 40 years paying this bank $700,000. If you go get a new vehicle, it's like, oh, I just got this $100,000 car, $80,000 car, $6,000 car. Now I get to spend the next, five whatever years paying $60,000 on this car. That's celebrated, bro. That's crazy to me, bro.
You're not struggling because you're poor. You're struggling because you live in the USA. You're struggling because prices have gone up tremendously, but the wages haven't. You're struggling because your bills continue to increase, but your wages haven't. You're struggling because you have greedy, corrupt CEOs of companies that are continuing to record record profits, but are refusing to pay their workers a livable wage. You're struggling because the country that prints money won't give that money back to its people. You're struggling because the country that is in $37 trillion and counting worth of debt somehow finds a way to give billions of dollars to fund new wars, but won't find any money to fund the poor. You're struggling because this country is stealing 30 to 40% of your income, if not more. You're struggling because after this country wrongfully took 30 to 40% of your income, they're telling you to pay more during tax season. You're struggling because homes that used to cost $150,000 to $200,000 10 to 15 years ago are now costing $400,000, if not $500,000. You're struggling because those starter homes that used to be seen as affordable are now being bought by large corporations. You're struggling because rent was under $1,000 10 to 15 years ago is now costing almost $3,000 for a one bedroom. You're struggling because these greedy landlords continue to increase the rent. You're struggling because a $100 grocery bill 10 to 15 years ago will get you a huge haul, will now only get you a few things in 2025. You're struggling because the gas that you used to fill up your car used to be $1 and some change per gallon is now almost $4 a gallon. You're struggling because the cost of having a good time and living life has gone up tremendously. An airplane ticket used to be $200 round trip is now $400 one way. It used to cost under $1,000 to enjoy a vacation. Now it's costing almost $3,000 to $4,000 depending on where you go. You're struggling because you're forced to get a second job just to make ends meet as things continue to skyrocket. You're struggling because the American dream is no longer the American dream. It's the American nightmare.
We are all aware of the fact that the cost of living in California is astronomically high. But for those of you who grocery shop on a weekly basis for a family of, say, like 3 to 4, what is your average grocery bill? Because for a family of 3, we are spending on average between $300 to $350 a week on groceries. That is over $1,200 a month we are spending on groceries. Granted, I do try to shop mostly organic. I buy whole foods. I try to go as unprocessed as possible. And my son and my boyfriend are human garbage disposals, so they eat a ton of food. But I still feel like that is so ridiculous. And I'm at the point where I'm wondering if it's even worth it to grocery shop, or would it be more cost effective to just eat out every day? That is a ridiculously high amount to pay on just groceries alone. And yes, it's mostly organic and whole foods, but we've been grocery shopping the same way for the past several months. And my grocery bill is getting higher and higher every month. And I'm always buying the same shit. So, yeah, I'm like, why am I spending all this money and time grocery shopping, cleaning up, cooking, when we can just treat ourselves every day? Am I right? Like, I love California though. I'm still not moving. I'm just saying.
People are always saying that the average American makes $45,000 a year. Where does the average American work? I want to make $45,000 a year. Are you kidding me? The most I have ever made is $30,000 in a year. Where are these people working that they're making $45,000? Like, don't just tell me that they're making $45,000 a year. Where do they work? Is their job hiring? I need more details. Like, where are they getting these numbers from? I don't think I know anybody in my life who is making $45,000 a year. Like, that is insane. I think that's like the average, only because like there's literal billionaires who are making like so much in a year that like regular people, they're like, oh, the average is 45,000. The average person, I would say, probably makes like 30,000, like 35,000. Like, you're not making $45,000 an hour on like a $15 an hour fast food salary. Like, where are the people who are making $45,000 a year? Where are they working? Are they hiring? Tell me that, America!
Can we talk about how miserable white people are for a second? Like, you know that white people are miserable, right? Like, have you ever looked a white person in the eye, even if they're like a big mental health person? You just look deep down and you're like, brother, you are not happy at all. And truly, it breaks my heart. But one reason, I think, one of the main reasons that a lot of white people, a lot of us are really unhappy and miserable is because we lack internal congruence. Now, congruence is a concept we learned early in grad school to help people heal. And congruence is basically internal alignment. Values and actions are on the same page, right? Like, we accept every part of ourselves. We feel peace, security in who we are, congruence. And no matter how hard you try, you can never find internal congruence if you're not congruent with the world around you. If you're not understanding what's real and seeing reality and affirming what's true. So like white people who deny patriarchy and capitalism's negative effect and oppression of the world and genocide that's happening around the world, like, that's incongruent with reality. That is going to have an effect on us internally. Because to deny what's happening in real time, we have to deny certain parts of us, certain emotions, certain thoughts that come up. And the more we run for that, the more incongruent and separate we feel, the more dissonance that comes, the more miserable we are. And a lot of times we're not actually dealing with our own pain and our own reality because we're all suffering under capitalism and white supremacy. Like, it affects us different ways in intersectionality, but like, it affects us white people too. You don't think a stormtrooper in the fucking Star Wars movies hates his life? You don't think he hates being bossed around all the time? You don't think poor white people living in the Empire, like in the city walls, like in a Game of Thrones, like, you don't think that they're miserable under it, even though they're not miserable the most? To be congruent inside, to not be miserable anymore, it takes accepting the realities of the world, seeing how those toxic systems affect us, and then moving to actually be congruent. Because deep down, humanity has goodness at its center. So yeah, white people, we're miserable because we're not congruent, because we're denying the realities of the world, and thus denying ourselves.